With Lightyear being out for a while now, I've finally found the answer to a question I've been wondering for a long time. That is, who are Buzz Lightyear's parents? If you haven't heard of the Pixar Theory, it's the idea that every Pixar movie is connected and takes place on a shared timeline. And with each new movie, it adds more to the Pixar Theory. And Lightyear in particular adds a whole lot of potential for theories. My take on this movie is that it isn't exactly the movie Andy saw, but he saw a similar movie based on the events in Lightyear. For Andy, this isn't a movie, these are real events in the Pixar universe that inspired the toy. If you want more information on that, I would recommend this video here. But back to the point of Buzz's parents, Buzz was one of the first astronauts to be sent 4.2 million light years from Earth in the hope of bringing back valuable materials. But the real question is, what is Buzz's backstory and why was he chosen to go to space? We could probably assume that he comes from a wealthy family if he was chosen to lead the space expedition. And what better candidate than Syndrome as Buzz's father? Just to start off with their looks, they actually look very similar. In the Beyond Infinity documentary, they made a point about Buzz's chin.
That's just not real. That's not human. Nobody has a chin that big.
Well, you know who does? Syndrome. And besides them both having a massive chin, if you look at Syndrome when he was younger, he actually has a very similar hairstyle to Buzz. Something else worth pointing out is that Syndrome has red hair, and in the Toy Story movies, Buzz likes Jessie, who also has red hair. According to the calculations I did in this video, the beginning of Lightyear should be taking place in the 1970s to 1980s. Syndrome was 25 in 1968. This would be the perfect age for him to have a child. But then the next question is, who was the mother? The most likely candidate is Mirage. If you pay attention to certain lines of dialogue, it's definitely implied that she's more than just his assistant. They're clearly in a relationship and possibly even married. This would make her a much more important character in the Pixar universe, being the mother of Buzz Lightyear. The reason she sympathized with Mr. Incredible is because he valued his family, something that she never had with Syndrome. After Syndrome died, she raised Buzz on her own, and after inheriting Syndrome's wealth, that's how he got accepted into the Space Ranger Academy. And that's why Syndrome attempted to kidnap Jack-Jack, because Mirage had custody over Buzz. However, there's just one thing that needs to be pointed out. Syndrome's last name is Pine, and Buzz's last name is Lightyear. But it seems a little too coincidental that the most famous Space Ranger has the last name Lightyear. There are two explanations for this. Either Mirage's last name or a maiden name if they were married was Lightyear, since she was never given a last name in the movie. Mirage Lightyear? I don't know if that sounds right. The more likely possibility is that after Syndrome died, she wanted no association with him. This is when she expanded on Syndrome's technology and eventually opened the Space Ranger program, giving her son a free passage into the program. In my last video, I explained how the older Buzz Lightyear isn't the real Zurg. He just stole Zurg's technology, and the original Zurg was actually the CEO of By and Large. But one thing that needs to be explained is that if the Zurg suit was created around 2105, then how is there a Zurg toy in 1995? Well, I think that's because of Syndrome. We know that Syndrome invented 10 different versions of the Omnidroid before it was ready to unleash on Metroville. However, something that was never answered in The Incredibles is what Syndrome's ultimate goal was. His plans were cut short and we never get to see his full plan get set into motion. Was it simply just to get revenge on Mr. Incredible, or was it more than that? I believe he had his sights set on world domination. We hear that he got rich from selling weapons to other countries. Syndrome's business is what would eventually become B&L. He planned on becoming the single world leader as CEO of By and Large. Like he says, when everybody's super, no one will be. And that's eventually what happened when everyone was given access to this advanced technology. But after he died, it prolonged the takeover of B&L. So even though I said in my last video that Shelby Forthright, the CEO of By and Large during the year 2105, was the original Zurg, Syndrome is the original Zurg. He planned on becoming an emperor. You may notice there's one feature on Toy Zurg that isn't present on the Zurg suit from Lightyear, and that is the cape. I believe that Syndrome invented the original Zurg suit, and over the years it was redesigned until B&L took over and the CEO became the actual Emperor Zurg. The toy is based on Syndrome's design of the Zurg suit, and we all know what led to Syndrome's downfall.
Knuckles!
In later versions of the Zurg suit, the cape was removed because of this. In Lightyear, Buzz initially mistakes his older self to be his dad. Now it makes sense why he would think that. This does kind of look like an older Syndrome with less hair, and being someone in possession of advanced technology, it would make sense since his father was an inventor of technology. To his knowledge, Syndrome is dead, so that's why it was so shocking for him. And finally, to tie everything together, what does Zurg say to Buzz in Toy Story 2?
You killed my father!
No, Buzz. I am your father.
No!
The government had access to Syndrome's assets. It was only a matter of time before the information about Syndrome's inventions was made public. And when it was, that's what led to the fictionalization of the story. Syndrome was seen by the public as a villain, and Buzz was seen as a hero for leading the space mission. That's what led to a fictional story about Buzz and Zurg being arch enemies. And that's why Zurg is Buzz's father. Let me know in the comments what you think of this theory. Thank you for watching, and bye.